right? Like these are coveted jobs. These opportunities to work in minor league baseball are widely sought precisely because of opportunities like the ones that you guys are both that you both have earned, but about to enjoy and celebrate at Fenway Park, where you are connected to an organization where there's opportunities for maybe advancement throughout. Emma, I am really curious to hear what your perspective is on how the landscape has shifted over the course of the time in which you've been interviewing for jobs, how the industry has changed. I mean, we've seen some amazing things, right? You guys are the second all-female broadcast team in baseball history, which is incredible. The first, was another celebration. It was also within the Red Sox organization when Melanie Newman and Susie Kuhl were together with the Salem Red Sox. And that was truly a landmark when that occurred just really a handful of seasons ago during your own broadcast career. How has the landscape changed over the last, decade plus for a woman who is looking to advance in as a baseball broadcaster?
I think the landscape has changed, but at the same time, it really kind of hasn't. You look at the amount of female broadcasters in minor league baseball, and there's still less than 5 of us. I think we peaked at like 6 in 2019 with Melanie and Susie. But yeah, I think that the changes, though, have been with the hiring process. You mentioned all the interviews, and I mean, we don't really have the traditional winter meetings job fair anymore. But I mean, that was an absolute sprint of a 4-day extravaganza of interviewing for as many teams as you could in such a short amount of time. And there were hundreds of people going for every single broadcast job. It was just so competitive. And during my time in those situations, you kind of flock together with fellow broadcasters. Although it's a hyper competitive industry, you really kind of have your small group of close friends that you're all weirdly going for the same jobs. But I would have experiences with interviews. Somebody told me that their owners found out that they were interviewing a female broadcaster and said that they didn't want a female voice on the booth, so he couldn't continue interviewing me, but he could critique my tape. Which it was an odd way to transition into being critiqued after having your dreams kind of cut at the knees. But now I think you see more female general managers across the landscape. You see more people in those positions of hiring that are more open-minded and thinking, oh, no, if it doesn't matter if it's a female voice or a male voice, as long as they're the best person for the job, they fit the front office, this shouldn't be an issue any longer. And I think that that's key when we're talking about long-term success of having more women in these positions. And then of course, hiring people like Rylee to show there can be actually 2 women on the broadcast. It can still be a fantastic listen. And now Rylee is in a position to go and lead her own broadcast one day. I think it's just helping people, set everybody up for success for those long-term goals and positions.
Rylee, as someone who was trying to get her first full-time job about 10 years after Emma got hers, were you concerned about entry barriers, about the possibility that the number of avenues might be fewer for you than they would be for a male counterpart? And along those lines, how extraordinary was it to have the opportunity to introduce to interview with someone like Emma? How encouraging, inspiring, to have, I'm sure that you were already familiar with Emma even before you interviewed with her. How much did that mean that when you were interviewing with the Sea Dogs, you were going to be doing so with someone who stood as kind of living evidence of the opportunity, of the ability to advance in the field?
Yeah, I think that was a huge part of what really drew me to this job, was just the ability to see somebody who has already lived a lot of what I want to live and experienced those things and kind of blazed that path and created her own in that way. So I think that was something that always stuck out to me, is to be able to learn from somebody who knows exactly how you're going to feel, exactly how you're trying to navigate everything, and then also to learn from somebody who sounds like you in some ways too. That's something that you don't see all the time, like you mentioned. So in that regard, I think it was super neat to just have that piece to look at and know that she's doing it. So it is totally doable and there are opportunities there. I've also been super fortunate to be working with a lot of different men in the field who never made me feel like I was an outlier in that regard, and just always kind of believed in me in that way, and kind of urged me to trust my baseball eyes and to just run with it, and knowing that there were opportunities there. Like Emma said, if you're able to just be the best broadcaster and also just hone in on your craft and improve every single day, I think that's unanimous for any broadcast job, is just to always have that urge to get better and to improve, and then those opportunities will follow when you kind of put in that work. So for me, I was super lucky to have some other women not too long ago kind of blaze those paths as well. Melanie Newman, as you mentioned already, with Salem, and then also her Orioles job. I grew up watching the Orioles with my dad from the DC area, so grew up watching that team already, and remember turning on the TV one day during one of my internships in the Northwoods League and seeing a female voice. So it didn't ever seem completely abnormal for me having those opportunities to see that visual and know that women were out there already doing those things.
You are also getting a chance to see your broadcast partner Emma being a mother on the job. What's it been like to watch Emma balancing the responsibilities of work and motherhood, and how cool is it? To see? I feel like everyone is excited to see Lucy anytime. Speaking of rock stars making their appearance in Headlock Field, I realize that there's a lot of attention on the big three, but I think that sometimes they're in the shadow of another. How, Rylee? What is it like to see Emma doing all of this, and to see an example of someone who is able to excel professionally and also be embrace being a mother?
Oh, there are so many things that I admire about her to begin with, but now seeing her this season be able to come back from maternity leave in July and just pick up exactly where she left off, I think was the coolest thing ever. I always say, if anybody can live the minor league life with a baby, it's Emma Tiedemann, and she's done just that. Just the way that she's been able to navigate everything. She came back and it was like she didn't even miss a game. She was headset on and ready to go, and it was the exact same Emma that was there before maternity leave. But just seeing her as a mom too, I think is so neat. She's one of the coolest moms that I know. Just everything, the perspective that she's able to just kind of have her baby sitting there too, I think is so cool to see her on the road trips and see those pictures and see Lucy sitting there with her Emma and her headset, I think is just the coolest thing. And to just see her take that all with stride. It's been one of the most seamless transitions from the outside looking in, from my perspective, and I just admire her so much to be able to navigate all of that and do it with such ease. I think it's the coolest thing. She's the best.
From the inside looking out, Emma, are you doing this with ease? How's the transition going?
Yeah, it's like a duck, sitting on water where it's all smooth, and then underwater it's, freaking out with his legs moving a mile a minute. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about it yesterday, and I thought that working, especially in broadcasting and baseball, would have prepared me for, working in a season just, with a baby, with the lack of sleep and everything. But truly nothing prepares you for, say we had a doubleheader and ended up playing 18 innings on Tuesday night. We played 11 innings yesterday. So, getting home and back to the hotel late, and then waking up about an hour later to feed your baby, and then waking up a couple hours later to soothe her again as she's going through a little growth spurt, and maybe getting about 3 hours of sleep every night is tough. But, I think that, working in this industry for this long has prepared me that, you just get up in the morning, you've got your work to do, you take care of your kid now, and the night ends at the ballpark. I think it's really cool and special to have such a fantastic front office that allows Lucy to hang out whenever.